Okay. So the very first emotion we're going to talk about is rejection. I said that with a smile on my face. I'm trying not to. I'm just excited to be doing this. But rejection is not a fun feeling. And so the first thing I want you to do is write in the comments, if you're willing to share, what comes to mind when I say rejection. A memory, a story. You can write a whole story if you want to. A moment, or you can just say, yes, I have a memory, I have a moment, a thought about rejection. Rejection is an experience, not an emotion, based on the English language. So when we say the word rejection, we're talking about an experience, but it's not technically a feeling, but it is a feeling, right? So when I say rejection, a feeling is so synonymous with that word that it is a feeling. So why don't you also, if you can write in the comments, and this will be your homework too, if you can't do it right now. I'm really excited, and I'm hoping to be able to put the homework into a journal type workbook that is beautiful, maybe even a physical one. But if you could put in the comments, what do you feel when I say the word rejection, or when you remember the memory that felt like rejection, the experience of rejection? So how does it feel in your soul, in your heart, and in your body? So in your heart or in your soul, for me, rejection feels like, it feels like a little bit of a lightning zap in my heart. And emotionally, it feels like alone. It feels like the alone feeling. It feels sad. Alone is also a feeling. Alone is actually a belief, and yet you feel it strongly. We're going to get really smart about the vernacular of emotions, because once you start to name them and you start to notice and observe how they feel in your body and how they feel in your heart, in your emotional center, you're going to be able to start organizing them, sorting them, and knowing how to address them. And of course, this is something I wish that we taught toddlers and up. And I wish this was part of every curriculum in every school, because to recognize our emotions and to be able to know what to do with them would prevent so much pain, so much more pain than we already have coming at us in this world. And also it would give us some intelligence, it would give us some structure, it would give us some strategy. And we would be the smartest ones in the room, because who's ever not controlled by their emotions is the person who gets to think the clearest and make the wisest move. That's why I love this stuff, because I think it's so amazing. It's amazing to be in a painful situation and to be able to stand back and see and observe, instead of feeling straight in the center of it, where your feelings are out of control and therefore your behaviors are out of control, and instead to be able to be an observer of the emotions in that scene and to be able to start making wise decisions. And I've had some experience with this, and it is so, so helpful and wonderful to be able to be the person in the room that can think clearly, that can guide people through an emergency or through an argument. And I've gotten to do that many times, and it's been so... It feels like relief, it feels empowering, it's so many things, but then also you get to be known for the person to come to, you get to be known as a leader. Yeah, because sometimes even the leaders are the ones who are losing it, in any room. And if you get to be the one that understands the situation, pulls it apart, recognizes it, applies wisdom to it, you will like rise to the top in any room. So rejection feels to me like pain. When I say pain, it's a very surface word. Pain is a very general word. We haven't gotten very specific yet. And when we get underneath the word pain, what does it feel like? What does rejection feel like? It feels like lost. It feels like not good enough. It feels like there's something wrong with me. That's how it feels for me. I would love to hear how it feels for you. I can feel it in my shoulders. I can feel it in my stomach. So tell me how it feels in your body as well, or write that down for your homework. How does rejection feel in your body? How does it feel in your heart? The emotion and the physical. So my story with rejection was, of course, the main one that stands out to me is the fact that my husband, who was on staff at a church at the time as a pastor, had an affair with one of the women in the church who was somebody I did a lot with. We had matching outfits in our singing group together. And he left us. Even after I knew about the affair, I would have chosen to reconcile our marriage, and he didn't. Even after she broke up with him, he didn't. And so I had so many opportunities for rejection. Rejection led down a certain path that we're going to go to over the next 30 days, what was really deep down in there. And when I did the work for this, the course, what I've learned to do for emotional strengthening, it took me all the way back to my first experience with rejection. And I was standing. So here's the story. Here's my rejection story. I was 5 years old, and I was standing on the back porch of my house in Rochester, New York, on Elm Grove Road. Memories like this are so clear, even if you're very, very young. You remember them more clearly than anything else, because pain has a way of doing that for us. And so I was standing on that back porch, and I was watching my 3- and 4-year-old brother and sister playing with the daycare kids that my mom babysat. And the daycare kids seemed like they always wanted to play with Aaron and Jamie, my 3- and 4-year-old brother and sister, and never with me. And I stood aloof and watched them play the game Danny and Jeffy, which was something they made up because these friends of ours, Danny and Jeffy, had the best toys. And they were rich, and they had motorized vehicles already and things like that. And so my brother and sister would pretend they had those nice toys and tell the daycare kids about these nice toys, and then they would pretend to ride them around the yard. And my brother and sister were cool. They looked really cool. They had kids were attracted to play with them. And so that was my very first feeling of rejection. I'm standing at 5 years old, my little blonde hair looking a lot like this, maybe blonder, and watching them play and watching them be popular. And my heart told me, I'm not popular. I'm not cool. I'm not fun. And that was the first time my heart ever heard, I'm not fun. At 5 years old, I didn't have an adult to correct that. I mean, my mom would have come along and said, "Oh, Carrie, you're a lot of fun." And even my brother and sister would have said, "Come play with us. Come play with us." That's who they are, who they've always been. It was not something that I had any oxygen brought into. I was completely alone in my feeling, and I didn't even tell anybody, so no one could correct me with logic. I just had a little tiny mind and heart, and it stuck. I remember I went into the house. I got my special blanket. I went into the dining room behind the table where no one was. I laid out that blanket like it was a magic carpet ride, and I got down on it. And I remembered the boy I had a crush on in kindergarten was supposed to be riding with me on the magic carpet ride. And I went into my own little imaginary space and played by myself. Now, that was a root, the seed that was planted, and the root that grew from that grew into a tree. And the tree began to grow based on the piling up of experiences, right? So I began to see through the eyes of, I'm not any fun. No one chooses or prefers me or looks at me or wants me. And so I would play by myself, find things to do to entertain myself, find activities that I liked. It's one of the main reasons that I enjoy reading so much. It's probably the reason I enjoy rainy afternoons and tea and libraries. I became my own entertainment because of that belief. And I honed that. And that tree trunk grew. And then it grew branches, right? And the branches are like the behaviors, my behaviors that just go out into the world. I choose to be alone rather than to be with a group of people. I choose, this is all me. You might relate to it, but you have your own story. When someone would say, if there was a choice to choose someone on a team, I would choose a different activity because I was sure I wouldn't be chosen. So it actually directed the path of my life completely. And so that by the time I was 12, I was writing plays and stories because I spent hours and hours and hours and hours and hours by myself. It's why I learned how to play the piano. I would rather be in front of a piano, playing for hours and hours and hours, than play outside where there was the opportunity to be rejected from playing soccer or Red Rover. And so I chose these heady things, these writing, I wrote poems and songs and plays. And then my parents were like, wow, she's a genius. This is fantastic. And I was pretty good at it, but not good enough to be put in the position, not old enough to where I was now 12 and they had me and I had me teaching my siblings how to sing these songs that I wrote or to act out these plays that I did. And that was an opportunity then again from when I was 12. My 10-year-old brother said to me, Kara, you don't know how to have any fun, when I was making him practice the 5th line 100 times. And I heard that in my heart. And this is another thing I really want you to pay attention to. Someone can say to you, Kara, you don't know how to have any fun. And you can just laugh it off. It could mean nothing. It means nothing to anybody unless you grab it and hold it in your heart and it builds that tree a little bit more. And now the tree is growing stronger and stronger and stronger. The branches are the behavior and the fruit that comes off that tree is what? What happens? Well, I learned how to play the piano. That's a little bit of a fruit. I learned how to write. I didn't have any friends in high school. That's a little bit of the fruit, the results. And so I want you to start seeing your rejection root, your experience, and pay attention to how it might have turned into a tree because you have evidence. See, my dad rejected me. See, my teacher rejected me. See, my mom rejected me. See, the stranger rejected me. And on and on and on to where even if you're trying to be on a dating website right now, you're going to find out all these opportunities for rejection. I don't want to look for a man because I'm going to be rejected. And even if you don't say that with your mouth, you deep down are so afraid of rejection that you'll avoid social experiences and jobs and so many things. And this is why I'm so excited about this. It means so much that if you can strengthen that part of you, the opportunities that will open up for you, the experiences, the things that you'll be able to do when you're not afraid of rejection could change the entire trajectory of your life. That's why this is so important. That's why I started with rejection. The other ones will be even more painful and they'll be even deeper, but we're starting off with this one because I see it the most in preventing opportunities for life. So this is a chance for you to do your homework and for you to journal. I want you to write down what experiences brought you the feeling of rejection. What other experiences confirmed rejection? What behaviors that brought to you that became the tree, the branches? And then what results that brought to you? It could be good, like learning how to play the piano, and it could be bad, like your behavior. Now we're talking about your behavior, not what was done to you, not what was done to you. But the choices you made as you went out into your life because of the fear of rejection or of having been rejected. So the homework that we have today is for you to write down what fear feels like in your heart and body, for you to document how the first time you were rejected or the most painful one that comes to your mind, and then the further evidence of rejection, the other experiences, and then the results of it. If you'll do this homework, then tomorrow we're going to talk about how to heal it. How to heal it. And we're probably going to do, well, I'm going to leave that for a secret for tomorrow. You'll find out. Okay, so when you have your homework done, please say done in the comments here, because it will help me to know how far we can go tomorrow with our healing experience, or if I need to wait on you to finish your homework. But this is one of the reasons why I have to give you homework in order for us to go further into emotional strengthening. This is a very applied class. There is not a lot. It's not just head learning. It's not mostly head learning. It's very applied. And so I can't actually continue to teach the course until you've done your part in it to tell me. And of course, you don't have to share any of it with any of us, but if you do, we would love it. I would love if you would share, because when you share your experience, it gives other people permission to share their experience. The more oxygen we get on it, the less power that it has. And that whole thing is just so powerful and unbelievably strengthening. I was going to say healing, but strengthening in community. You know how much I love koinonia and community. So, all right, I'm excited to hear your response to this. I'm excited to hear some feedback, remembering that I'm looking for feedback as we go. Pipe up with some other thoughts, then let me know. Okay.